Look, if you've been online anywhere lately, you've definitely felt the whiplash. I mean, every single day it's a new headline, a wild prediction, or some dire warning about artificial intelligence. It gets insanely overwhelming trying to figure out what's real and what's just, well, noise. So today, we're going to cut right through all of that. In this explainer, we're diving into the cold, hard mechanics of what's actually happening behind the scenes of the AI boom, looking strictly at the source material. You've got half the internet screaming that AI is this massive, fragile house of cards just waiting to collapse, literally the biggest financial bubble in human history. And then, right across the aisle, the other half is absolutely convinced it's the most important technology ever built, like a literal rocket ship to utopia. It's either total financial doom or unparalleled progress. But honestly, arguing over which side is right is actually a massive distraction.
See, we really need to stop arguing about the technology itself and completely reframe how we're looking at this. We need to focus on the financial mechanics at play here. Like, whether AI is the future is a totally settled debate. It is the future. The capabilities are absolutely real. But, and this is a big but, just because a technology is real doesn't mean everyone investing in it is going to come out on top. Actually, history tells us the exact opposite. The real question we need to be asking right now, the one that actually matters for your portfolio, is who's going to get spectacularly wealthy and who's going to lose their shirt.
So here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to start with the core debate, then look at the tech bubble paradox, introduce a 200-year-old framework, check out big tech's massive bet, and finally get to who actually gets rich. All right, jumping right into part one, the great AI debate and navigating the extremes. When you have half the internet predicting a historic crash and the other half completely blinded by this shiny technological revolution, emotions run incredibly high. I mean, people start throwing their life savings at, AI toaster startups just out of pure FOMO, or they panic sell because they were doom scrolling at 3 a.m. To actually grasp the source material and the financial reality of AI, we absolutely have to strip away all this emotional noise. We need to look at the market structure. We just can't let the sheer coolness of what AI can do blind us to how businesses and investors are actually behaving with their money. Which brings us to part two, the tech bubble paradox, and why great tech actually breeds danger. This is fascinating because the actual validity and promise of a technology is exactly what fuels the most dangerous financial wipeouts. Think about that for a second. History's biggest financial bubbles were built on the best technology, not the worst. It's a total paradox. You'd kind of think that bubbles only happen with fake products or, straight-up scams. But the most devastating crashes happen precisely because the underlying tech is genuinely revolutionary. Just look back at the 19th century railway mania or the early days of the internet. The tech was undeniably real, and it absolutely changed the world. But because it was so incredibly good, it justified this insane, irrational level of euphoric spending. Everyone just rushed in, assuming they couldn't possibly lose because it was the future. As the source material points out, great tech breeds immense financial danger when capital just gets completely out of control. Okay, moving to part three, the 200-year-old framework, or as I like to call it, the secret of top investors. So how do the pros handle this? They use the capital cycle theory. By using this framework, we can totally shift our focus away from the shiny new AI tools and look directly at the actual flow of money. The capital cycle is this 200-year-old concept that honestly doesn't care if a technology is steam power, fiber optics, or massive language models. It literally only cares about human behavior and where the capital is moving. Top investors use this exact tool to spot financial bubbles and predict major market shifts. By tracking where the money is flowing, and honestly how fast it's flowing, we can take a massive step back from the AI hype and objectively see exactly where we are in the broader historical pattern.
And here's the thing. Every single financial bubble in history moves through four very distinct stages. Stage one, the technological breakthrough. This is the spark. Someone invents something mind-blowing, like ChatGPT, and the whole world sits up and notices. Then comes stage two, the massive capital influx. Seeing this breakthrough, everyone, from retail investors all the way up to massive tech monopolies, just throws incredible amounts of money at the space, hoping to strike gold. Naturally, this massive overinvestment leads right into stage three, the inevitable burst. The market gets completely saturated, expectations totally outpace reality, and pop goes the bubble. Finally, we hit stage four, the quiet consolidation. The hype dies down, the weak players get wiped out, and the true, sustainable businesses quietly pick up the pieces and actually build the future. Literally every tech revolution follows these exact four steps.
Let's apply this right now, in part four, big tech's massive bet and the $725 billion reality check.
I want you to just look at the sheer, staggering scale of big tech's projected AI spending. $725 billion. I mean, let's put that into perspective for a second. That is larger than the GDP of entire countries. We're not just talking about a couple of plucky startups raising a seed round here. We are talking about the most powerful corporations on Earth completely emptying their war chests into a single technological sector, just pouring it into infrastructure, research, and development.
That $725 billion figure? Yeah, that firmly places us within a very specific, highly risky stage of the capital cycle. Think back to those 4 steps we just talked about. We already had the breakthrough. Now we are watching billions upon billions being injected into the system. That is literally the textbook definition of stage 2, the massive capital influx. The source material makes it crystal clear that this level of spending is an undeniable indicator of where we're at. When this much capital floods into one space, history tells us it creates severe imbalances. It screams that we are firmly in the expansion phase of a cycle, rapidly approaching that dangerous territory where expectations and spending might just totally outpace near-term reality.
Which leads us perfectly into our final section, Part 5, Who Actually Gets Rich? The Silent Winners.
So when the dust finally settles, the loudest voices rarely win. Instead, it's the silent beneficiaries who reap the massive rewards. Based on that 200-year-old capital cycle framework, the original tech creators, the ones who sparked the hype and built those flashy, front-facing products, they are very often wiped out when the initial bubble bursts. They overextended, they promised way too much, or they simply couldn't survive when the capital suddenly dried up. But there is a specific group that quietly gets incredibly rich during that final consolidation phase. They aren't the ones selling shiny new AI software. They're providing the critical, boring infrastructure that the survivors absolutely rely on. We're talking server cooling systems, massive energy grid providers, semiconductor fabricators, and data center real estate. They are essentially selling the picks and shovels during the AI gold rush. So, we know the breakthrough has already happened, and we can clearly see that massive $725 billion influx of capital completely flooding the market right now. History is practically screaming at us that a correction is coming, which will then be followed by a quiet period where the real generational wealth is solidified. So, as we watch this historic cycle play out right in front of us, you have to ask yourself, are you out there chasing the flashy creators who historically get wiped out, or are you looking for those silent beneficiaries who are perfectly positioned to get rich? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.